I think your screen is
Pardon?
there. I think that your screen is lagging.
Like there'll be a 5 to 10 second delay. Maybe a little bit of delay. We'll be starting in 1 minute now. Greetings everyone. Welcome to the 10th session of MUNx Lucknow in collaboration with United Nations India and in support of United Nations at 75. So, today we'll be discussing about the fourth pillar of democracy, the press. So, a really crucial part of MUNs is international press, and today we have with us Ms. Lakshita Basir. She's an impactful public speaker, a debater, and an intuitive leader. One of her most prized qualities is, is her prowess as a writer. A dedicated MUNer, she attributes her appreciation for the international press to her passion for writing. She firmly believes that the platform provided to the members of the IP to express themselves is like no other. She's an extremely determined and hardworking and is committed to her work. An outstanding poet, she was a finalist for the National Youth Poetry Slam of 2016. Her undying love for literature has prompted her to work as an NIE correspondent to the Times of India. With a belief in the spirit of international press and having secured several accolades to her name, she is of the views that IP goes a long way in shaping and molding one's personality. To be honest, for this session, she's the best trainer anyone could have. Thank you for agreeing to this and coming out of your break. So now over to you. There is some problem with your audio.
Been sorry.
Yeah. Like, there was some issue
Can
coming
you
in the
hear
audio.
me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. Yeah, so I've most importantly, what what was discussed, the new policies that have come up, with any
Lakshita, I guess there's some problem with the internet or something.
going
The
to have
audio is not coming. Like the audio is like very cluttery. I don't know why.
my internet is completely fine.
Maybe you can try reconnecting it.
There's a bit disturbance. I don't know. Like maybe it's a problem with the mic or something. I don't know.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Hello.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Okay, I've lost track of where I was, but yeah. So IP is important to document the confidence to know that whatever is not just know what happened in
Lakshita, still the
matter
audio is
what's
like
happening.
I don't know. Like
Oh, good Lord. Hold on.
yeah, if you can try switching the mic or something. The audio is like very cluttery. I don't know why.
Is it fine now?
Pardon, like can you once again repeat?
I said, is it fine now?
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
you
better.
can try.
I did try reconnecting it. I've just removed my earphones now.
Yeah, this is way better. Like if you can continue like
Is
this,
it?
and like
Yeah,
if you
I
can,
can. I don't.
yeah, if you can start from scratch now, like like
Okay.
most of the
No,
times the
not
audio
an
is not.
issue. Not an issue. Not an issue. Just give me a second.
There's a bit disturbance. I don't know. Like maybe it's problem with the mic or something. I don't know.
Hold on. Hold on.
To document the confidence to
Is
know
it
that
better?
whatever is
Yes, it's perfect now.
Okay. Great. So you want me to start again?
Yeah.
I'm just going to close that YouTube link. Okay. I think that is causing disturbance. Yeah. Is it fine now? Perfect.
Yes, it's working.
Okay, cool. So I'll start again then. Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lakshita. Vinamra has given a brief introduction of me already, but I would just like to introduce myself a little bit. So I started doing MUNs as a debater. But eventually I found my fascination in the international press, and since then I've worked as a reporter, as an editor in chief, as the head of IP, and I left the circuit a couple of years back, but this is my first training session. So yeah. Well, as an I will start by introducing the international press. So as a body, the international press is very important in the global sphere to document whatever is happening in the United Nations, and to make people around the globe aware of what is happening outside of that committee, or the people who do not have access of resources to be there, physically be there. It is our job as the media, as the fourth pillar of democracy, as the change makers, to make them aware of what is happening in the committee, whatever is being discussed, if there are any new policies that are coming up, or any agendas that have been debated about that are important for the public to know. It is our duty as the international press in this not just this simulation, but as a body in the United Nations. And international press plays a very important role to sort of make a change through voicing their own opinion, through just stating whatever has happened in the committees, through um, sort of presenting a public opinion to the United Nations through their articles about what the general feeling of the public is like on those issues that are being discussed in the committees. So yeah, international press documents the entire conference and whatever has happened, and presents it to people around the world. It is very important to have a record of the conference that has been spoken about. Most of the times, it is through the international press that various policies are being quoted, or various articles that have been written by some journalists, because they're taken as hard proofs, or statements of the fact whatever happened in the conference is being reported by the people present of the international press in the committee. Then yeah, it reports whatever happened to make it reach people, and it notes the committee is happening. So what role does the international press play in a simulation of the United Nations? In a similar way, it is the duty of the international press to present, to state, to have an account of whatever is happening in the conference, in the committees, and to sort of tell people from other committees what is happening in, like, for example, if something is happening in the Security Council and an international press member is present there and they have an account of it, then people in the United Nations General Assembly can also get to know what is happening, and vice versa. So it's important for other committees to know what is happening in, like, in each other's committees. And yeah, it is important. Basically, what the international press does is release a newsletter for the edition of the conference. That is important because it is a hard document that you can have as a record of everything that happened in the conference, as a sort of a result of whatever is being debated about, as a sort of the reporter's own opinion about whatever is being discussed, whether or not they agree with it, whether or not something else could have done. So it sort of gives voice to you, not just as a debater, but to you as a writer, as a photographer, and as a caricaturist, because it gives you a position to, is a place to sort of voice your own opinion about agendas that are being discussed in the committees. So, personally, for me, international press was very important in shaping the kind of person I am, because again, as I spoke about it, it gives you a platform to sort of voice your own opinions, to, you know, state if you disagree with something, to have your own opinion about political issues being discussed, and to present them in a way that compels other people to believe your opinion, and to forces them to sort of see other facts that they can't otherwise see, because it's not their opinion, right? It's your opinion that you get a voice to share with the rest of the people. So yeah, in an international press, in an MUN simulation, is important to document the entire conference through pictures, through articles, through caricatures so that people have a record of what is happening and sort of see different viewpoints about the same issue that they may have otherwise missed. So international press has three fragments mainly: so journalists, photographers, and caricaturists. Okay, basically, journalists are important in media as a whole because they have an in-depth knowledge. They know, they have researched about the agenda being discussed, and they know what is happening as well as the delegates of that committee do. They are supposed to research, they're supposed to read up about the agenda, about different countries. In fact, what I believe that a reporter knows about more about the agenda and about different things because they have to read up about all of the foreign policies, about what a country's stand is on the agenda, about how they are going to tackle it, how they should tackle it, and they research and they have to come up with articles to sort of state what has happened and to voice their opinion, a different opinion than the delegates. So yeah, research is very important for reporters because it is important that if you're presenting your opinion about something, you are aware of what is going on in that committee, or what the agenda is, or what different countries sort of stand is on it before you can present an opinion of your own. Um, yeah, so there are different type of tasks given to every what do you call it, member of the international press. For the journalists, the tasks are usually divided into 4 or 5 types of articles. It's a feature, an op-ed, a beat-based article, an interview, and a report. Okay, so but what is important for the journalist as a whole to keep in mind when working as a member of the international press and an MUN is that you cannot use personal pronouns. Okay, first thing, you can't, if you're writing an article, you can't say I believe, you can't say he said, she said. No, you have to maintain a professional language, and you have to avoid using the first person, and you should always prefer, like, you should always write in third person. And yeah, mainly one more thing that is important is you have to write as if you're in a real conference. It's United Nations, it's not a simulation. So using words like simulation or um I don't know, words synonyms to it, simulation, in a, it's discouraged because you're writing as if you are the international press, and it's not a simulation, it's a real conference. Then usually when you're writing, you should avoid procedural details like terms like a moderated caucus, or general speakers list and all of that, because the people who are reading your newsletter are already aware of all of this, and they don't need to read it again and again just to know what is happening in the committee. But when you're writing, it should be like you're making them aware of something that they don't already know, not not stating, although there are such articles that require you to state directly what is happening in the committee, like a report. A report is a direct statement of whatever happened in the committee. It's that usually involves procedural terms, but it's like very least likely to be used in an MUN conference. Okay, another very important thing for writers as a whole, before I get into the details of the types of articles, is a headline. Okay, so when you're reading a newspaper, what attracts you to read an article? It's the headline, right? You get attracted by a catchy headline, you start to read it. So a headline is very important to make sure that you have enough readership for your own article. At this point, the more important thing is not whether the newsletter is being read, it is your article. If I'm opening the newsletter and I see a catchy headline, I would want to read that article. So it is very important for you to come up with a catchy headline to increase the readership of your article. Okay, and I think same applies to photographers and caricaturists. When you're writing a piece, if you're making something and you want people to see it, you need to come up with a catchy headline or a caption for just to make sure that it attracts people's attention. But this, I'm so sorry, applies more in the case of reporters, because you need to, it's a long article, right? Not everyone's going to read it unless they are attracted to the article and what it has to offer. So your headline has to be very crisp, very crunchy. It has to summarize your entire article in about 3-4 words, maximum 5 words, and it has to make sure that you get enough readership on your article. So it's one of the most important parts of an article, according to me, is the headline, is the catchphrase. Okay, research, again, I can't reiterate it enough. Research is very, very important for a journalist, because you need to be aware of what is happening before you can present your views on it. So research is extremely important for reporters, and that is why I always like make it very, very clear for my international press, wherever I used to do it, that you need to be very thorough with the agenda, very thorough with what is being discussed, where it can go. Then you can have your speculations, right? If, for example, an agenda is being discussed and I think that it can go in this way, so I need to be prepared for that. And yeah, I need to be well researched in order to have speculations. So now I'll come on to the type of articles that are there for journalists. There are again 5 types of articles: feature, op-ed, beat, report, and interview. So in a feature article is supposed to be very well researched, very in depth, very analytical article, and it can be as creative as you want it to be. It can range from a diary entry to a poem to an open letter to anything. It sort of can be it can be anything. And but it can have multiple dimensions to it. Like it can be very dimensional. It just is doesn't have to have one what do you call point of view. It can have different points of views that people may not have considered. For example, you can consider like all sides of a particular story. So again, reiterating how well you need to be researched to have an idea of all sides of the story. For example, if the agenda is discussing refugees, so and the policies that a country needs to adopt for refugees, for in a feature, what you can do is you can write from the point of view of a refugee, or how they feel about the policies that are being discussed. So a feature gives you the freedom to write anything you want, basically. You can make it emotional, you can make it compelling, you can provide a different point of view that people may not have considered. It can probably cause a change in the way people are looking at the agenda at hand. And yeah, so as I said, it can be anything. It can be a diary entry, it can be an open letter. And like, I have personally preferred writing, like I have written a lot of features in my time, and I have it's one form of article that I really, really like, because it's personal, right? It's like you're telling a story. It's like they're discussing about you or your brother, your sister. So it can be any angle, it can be any dimension. um that is a feature, approximately 500 words. It's the approximate word limit. Then I come on to beat based article. So in an MUN, in a committee, there are multiple agendas that are being discussed, but there is one agenda that is being discussed more than the other agendas. That is your beat. Okay, you need to find the beat of your committee. If you're writing a beat based article, there are, it's just one topic that is being discussed better and more in depth than the others. That is your beat. It is a beat based article is very specialized, it is very factual. And the beauty about a beat based article is, if it's being discussed more prominently, then you can have direct quotes, statements, verbatim lines of the delegates that were used in the committees. So you can have so a statement can be your beat based article. For example, if a delegate has passed a problematic statement in the committee, you can use that as the title of your beat. You can sort of state how that statement was problematic, state how much uproar it caused in the committee, and how what were the repercussions of that statement for the delegate, for the others, for his country, and for the agenda that was being discussed at hand. So, yeah, approximately 350 words. A beat-based article is is very important because there is one topic that is way more important than the others, and people in the other committees are usually not aware of how the agenda has developed or what problematic statement was being passed and how it has led to an issue among the others and all of that. So a beat based article is very important. One time even I wrote a beat based article on a statement a delegate passed in the committee, and yeah, so that is a beat based article. Next is a report. Reports are very straightforward, very factual, directly based on committee proceedings, and yeah, it's just a direct statement of whatever happened in the committee. It's really not that creative, not that factual. It's just to have a record of what the committee proceedings were like. Uh, Opinion editorial. So, opinion editorial are another very important type of article. So, it is about 400 to 450 words. In an op-ed, you give, as the name gives out, you give your own opinion about the agenda, about the problem, about, say, the beat. So you can turn a beat based article into an opinion editorial if you have a very strong viewpoint about the beat. You can write an opinion editorial based on the beat. You can have an opinion about an agenda being discussed, about how you think they could have handled it, about how you think a country should have reacted. It can really be anything. And so it's usually structured in a 3-4 paragraph kind of way. It is you state what the problem is, you state what your opinion is on it, how you feel about it, what your viewpoint is about that issue being discussed, and then you go on to state what the possible solutions could be according to you, that you know how I think they could have handled it, not using personal pronouns. So that's a tricky thing. You need to give your opinion without stating personal pronouns. So you cannot say I believe, you know, he could have dealt with it that way, but you need to give your opinion, your sort of view about the same, but without using personal pronouns. So the next type of article is an interview. Interview is, you can question a delegate directly about the agenda, about the country, about what his country's stand is on the agenda, about what his country's stand is about another country in regards to the agenda being discussed, and anything. It can really be anything. But in an interview, it is very, very important that you're very well researched, because if you're asking a delegate about the questions about his country, his foreign policy, his stand on the issue, you need to be aware about it yourself first in order to ask the right kind of questions, in order to not offend the sentiments of the delegate of the country or whatever the agenda is at hand. So, yeah, that's about it. In this field, there are journalists, editors, and the editor in chief. The work of the editor in chief is to overlook the entire newsletter. The work of the editor is to edit the articles of the reporters, but without losing the essence of what the writer has written. So it's mainly grammatical errors and, you know, concising the statements or concising the article, but without really, you know, losing touch with what the writer has written. So that is one field of the international press. The second field is caricaturists. So cartoons and caricatures have been very important for sort of spreading knowledge and awareness about global narratives in a, in a localized manner. Not just now, but it has been in use more than, ever since, like, before the emergence of news channels, before the emergence of, say, internet, or any global communication for that matter. um, Earlier, there used to be this thing called patua paintings, okay, so which was used to sort of localize a global narrative. uh, sort of a global happening to make it more understandable for the people in a local narrative. So, for example, the 9/11 attack was globalized in the was sorry localized in the Bengali village using images of drawing image on a scroll of a twin tower and of people wearing dhotis and sort of giving it the look of the villagers to localize it and to make them understand what had happened. It had so so basically cartoons are telling a story and explaining what has happened, the event that has happened, or the agenda that is being discussed without using any words, right? So you can't really state what has happened, but you just need to explain it. So in that context, the face of Osama bin Laden was drawn on a plane and shown to, it was shown to bump into the Twin Towers. It's an article by Roma Chatterjee, very interesting article. Just thought I'd substantiate the importance of cartoonists with it. So basically, what I'm trying to iterate here is that caricaturists have been important to spread knowledge and awareness about an issue since, like you can recall, it is very important for people to sort of see, to have a visual to what they're trying to understand, because visuals help people remember it better, to understand it better. If you can see something, you are more likely to remember it than if you read it or heard it, right? So for caricaturists, it is very important to be crisp and to convey the main point through cartoon. And usually, again, the hot topic, the beat, is very important for the caricaturists as well, because it helps them to have a sort of a subject for their cartoon. And they are supposed to have humor, have satire. Most importantly, the cartoon is supposed to have a message uh, that can convey what their feeling is about the agenda being discussed, or what sort of happened in the committee that caught their eye, or the beat that they can represent in a way that sort of the journalists can't, and which will help people understand it better. So I've seen some really satirical cartoons, some really funny cartoons, and it is it's very important for the newsletter also to add a sort of an artistic appeal to it. And it is also very important for people to understand the crust of the message that they might have missed in the article, or they might have missed in the committee, that it gives them a different sort of perspective about the entire issue. So yeah, that is caricaturists. For photographers, it is very important to cover the entire conference, to sort of have a documentation, visual documentation other than cartoons, to substantiate whatever has happened, to substantiate the information that they're spreading. And in an MUN, more importantly, it is important for the photographers to cover the entire committee that they're a part of, to cover the entire conference that they're a part of, to document, to have a record and everything. So the criteria that photographers are usually marked on is framing, clarity, message, lighting, focus, coverage of the entire conference of, sorry, the entire committee that they're a part of. So say a committee wide angle, or two pictures of per delegate, that covers the conference, the cusp of the conference that has happened, pictures of the EB and everything. It is also important to have an aesthetic appeal to the pictures so that it can substantiate the newsletter in a more sort of artsy way. So what I think is photographers need to have sort of a connection with what the reporters are writing. So it is kind of in line with the entire theme of the newsletter. So, like if a reporter's beat is about, say, the delegate of Israel, then it is important that a photographer has a picture of the delegate of Israel. If he has a picture of, if he can depict again. So for photographs are not just direct messages. They are also um, they can also be symbolic, they can also be metaphorical like a cartoon. So if they can have a picture that depicts what they're trying to say without actually showing what they're trying to say, that is like, it's nothing like it. So yeah, I think Vinamra, I'm done. But this is the crux of what the international press is. This is basically what they do in a conference, or what their role is in a global United Nations setting. And more importantly, in the simulation that we are all a part of, I'm guessing you all are first timers. It's a very good platform. You should try it out. And if you are a writer or a photographer or a caricaturist and you think you don't fit into the whole debating thing with the MUN, you should really give it a shot. Even if you think you do fit into the delegate sphere of the MUN, you still should give international press a shot, because you never know how you are meant to express yourself. Not everyone expresses themselves best in the delegate way, but some people do writing, drawing, clicking pictures. So I think you should definitely give it a try. International press is, it's a very good platform to boost your confidence, to sort of, give you a voice to state your opinions without directly stating them. So yeah, I think that's it, Vinamra. I'm done.
So we can have a like if you can have the chat open, so the kids can ask their questions. So, like,
Yeah, of course. Can you send the link again?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's it, Vinamra. I'm done.
So we can have a if you can mute the device, mute YouTube. Kids can ask their questions. So, like,
Yeah, of course. Can you send the link again?
yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah, I have the YouTube open. I hope you guys understood what international press is, what you need to do as a part of the international press, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I'm open to questions.
Ma'am, if you can please mute the YouTube on your browser.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Kids can ask their questions. So, like,
Yeah, of course. Can you send the link again? Yeah. Okay. Um, Trying to find the questions.
I have posted some in the Zoom chat.
No, there were many that I missed when I was talking. Okay, Ritik Agarwal has asked, when during a session are we asked to write articles? Okay, if you are a member of the international press, then you're not really an active part of the committee with regards to like delegation. So you are given a task in the morning, and then you're given time to research about it, to write it, and sort of that timeline is given to you by the editor in chief of your conference. And sort of, yeah, you're supposed to sit in the committee to research and to see what is happening, and then to write your article. What next? I didn't understand beat based article. I will repeat it again. Kindly ask. Okay, I will repeat beat based article. Yes, Priyanjan Mitra has mentioned Amul's ads. Yes, it's a very important example of how cartoons and caricatures are important to explain the agenda, that to explain what is going on in the world or in your nation, just in a way that people will understand more effectively. Okay, beat based. I will repeat. Does IP have any role in setting up the crisis for a committee? Um, It depends on what the agenda is, on what your chief editor asks you to do. So many times in conferences, I set up a crisis for my IP as well. So I made them, I gave them a crisis. I told them the newsletter is not getting printed, and they came up with the entire newsletter again from scratch in 1 hour. And so yeah, you can have a role in setting up the crisis if the editorial board of the committee, sorry, executive board of the committee asks you to, because it's sort of through the press that you get to know what's going on, right? Next. You cannot be a delegate and an IP member at the same time, because it's very difficult for you to actively debate in a committee and to also have the time to write out an article. And not just that, your articles or writings will be very biased, because you'll be thinking mainly from the standpoint of your own country, right? The country you're allotted. So it's little problematic to be a delegate and an IP member at the same time. Okay. So the question is, IP members need to have the info about agendas and the happenings of all the committees or some particular committees that are allotted to them. Okay, basically, your committees are allotted to you before the conference, but many a times you can, if you get interested in the agenda of another committee or what is happening in the committee, then you can also switch your committees. You can be allotted different committees. So it's important that you're aware of, especially the country that you've been allotted to, the agenda and the happenings. But if you want to change, then it's important that you're aware of the committee that you want to change to. Okay. But no, if what you're trying to ask is, if you're if you're sort of covering multiple committees, then that's a no, because you need to be only if like the reporters are less or something, then you need to cover 2 to 3 committees. But mostly it's usually just one committee per reporter, per caricaturists and all. So question is, if I've never been an MUN delegate, can I directly opt for IP? Of course you can. You don't have to be doing MUNs for a long time or to be attending as a delegate to switch to IP member. Of course, you can start off as an IP member if you're a writer, or if you're interested in writing, if you're interested in journalism and all. You can for sure just directly start with being an IP member. No, IP members are not of the same organization as the host of the MUN. You can other participants are supposed to be included. It's just like being a delegate, but not being a delegate. You can attend any conference as an IP member. How much time do you get to put up an article after a conference really depends on what your editor in chief tells you to do. It's usually all of the submissions come with a deadline. So that, yeah, that really depends. So yeah, cartoons are not just funny, they can be serious too, of course. So caricatures, as an authentic word, caricatures are supposed to be people, like it's supposed to depict people in a little funny way, but we're not just looking at caricatures. You can have normal cartoons as well. You can have serious cartoons as well. It's usually cartoons and caricatures have been associated with humor and satire. Okay. Okay, you are usually given the kind of article that you have to write, Prachi. Um, it's usually given to you by your editor in chief, but you can, if they are in like open to you choosing yourself, then you can choose yourself, of course. And it will be easier to pick one when you're aware of what committee you were in or what agenda you're covering, and you will get to know what you're more interested in once you know what is being spoken about. I will repeat beat-based articles after I'm done reading the all the questions. Okay, if you were sitting in a committee as an IP member, can you ask questions to the EB during the conference to clarify any doubts? You can. You can pass a chit to the EB, or you can ask them during a break or during a break time or some unmoderated caucus or something. But you can't disrupt the committee just to ask them a question. Okay, what else did I miss? Okay, a lot of you have asked me what is the connection of IP and MUN debates. I think I covered that in the starting, but you guys must have missed it. So, in a committee, when people are debating about a particular agenda at hand, it is the work of the international press to sort of convey the entire message of in a brief to rest of the people, to rest of the committees, to sort of present your opinion about it, because you're not really a part of the committee, right? So you can't have an opinion, your opinion expressed during the committee. So for that you have the newsletter, for that you have your article. You can express your opinion, how you think they should have handled the situation, what your opinion is about the agenda, what you think could have done but wasn't done, and all of that, right? So it basically plays the role of media to make people aware, to give your opinion, to make a change, to possibly make people aware of other points of view that there are, without sort of imposing your point of view upon them. So you just present your opinion to them, and they consider a different angle, consider a different point of view that they must have missed otherwise. Okay. Okay. I will repeat beat-based article. I will give a brief introduction of the types of articles again. But I saw this one question that I saw. Okay. Oh, where did it go? Yeah. What does it take to be a good reporter? What can make one stand out? Okay. So what makes one a good reporter is, first of all, being aware of what you're talking about, being very well researched about the information that you're presenting, because it's sort of important for you to know what you're saying if you are presenting your opinion to others, all right? If you are um, sort of giving them a different point of view, it's important that you know what you're talking about. It needs to be very well researched. It needs to be different, okay? It's sort of, so it has to be different from the mundane articles that are being talked about. It needs to be catchy, it needs to have a catchy headline, it needs to be different than what people have already heard. So I really appreciate a different point of view or a different dimension or something even I would not have thought about. So it's really up to you to use your creativity to be the best reporter you can, or to, sort of understand things from your own perspective, and to uh, understand the agenda differently than people have already understood it. Okay. What is the role of photographer? I just explained it needs to be okay. So a photographer is very important to document the entire conference, and yeah, sort of have a brief record of what is happening, um, to sort of have a visual documentation of the entire conference, to help the reporter substantiate their article through symbolic or metaphorical photographs, not just direct photographs. It's important for it to have an aesthetic appeal that adds an artsy view to the newsletter. And yeah, I think that's it. In online MUNs, okay, even Vaibhav has asked this, even Gati Agarwal has asked this. Sorry, no, somebody else asked it. In online MUNs, the role of the entire IP is even more so important than in offline MUNs, because people are really so in offline MUNs, people can attend cross-cutting committees, or people have other friends in other committees who have for so who can tell them what is happening in other committees. But in an online conference, it's really important for you to have IP, for it to, for you to have an information, for you to present that information to others, for you to be aware of what is happening. And yeah, how can you get into IP? It's They have applications, and yeah, they have applications just as the delegate applications. They have applications for the international press. You need to apply to it. You need to choose your preference, whether you want to become a reporter, whether you want to become a caricaturist, or whether you want to become a photographer. And then they just give you your committee. That's it. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the types of articles before I forget. Okay. Huh? All right. Okay, so there are 5 types of articles: feature, op-ed, beat, interview, and report. Um, so sorry, I'm just getting distracted by all the questions. Yeah. Okay, so feature, beat-based article, op-ed, report, and interview. A feature is very creative, open to creativity. Any and anything, any and everything can be written. Very dimensional, very analytical, very subjective. It can be anything: an open letter, a diary entry, a poem, anything. It can literally be anything. It has different viewpoints that people may not have considered, different dimensions, different viewpoint, different side of the stories. And yeah, that is a feature-based feature article. It needs to be really well researched. Beat, I will discuss in detail at the last. Opinion editorial basically presents your opinion about the agenda, about how a country tackled the agenda at hand, about how you think they should have handled the agenda at hand. It is basically your opinion, but yeah, in a news in an article form, it's your opinion. So it's usually in a 3-4 paragraph structure. It starts by stating the problem at hand, stating what your opinion is, or what your opinion is, and then what possible solutions could have been according to you. And yeah, you can basically, yeah. Interview is direct questions. Um, you can ask a delegate. Okay. You can ask a delegate direct questions about the agenda at hand, about their country's stand, about its foreign policies, about how they tackled a particular issue, about how what their policy is about handling a particular issue, about their relations with another country that is pertinent to the agenda at hand. And yeah, it is supposed to be very well researched, because if you're having a if you're having a question answer session about the foreign policies of a country, you need to be aware about it yourself first. Okay. What else? A report is very direct, very it's just a statement of the procedural happenings of the committee. It is very, very straightforward. And yeah, that's it. Beat. Okay, I have got so many questions about a beat-based article. I will explain it in detail. It is my favorite kind of article too. So a beat-based article is basically so in an MUN, there are various topics being discussed, but there's one topic that is being discussed more than the other topics. That topic is your beat. Okay. So it can be anything, literally anything. It can be a statement, it can be a subtopic of the topic that is being discussed. It can be it can literally be anything. Okay, it can also be a statement of that a delegate passed during the agenda at hand. It can yeah, I once wrote a beat about a statement that a delegate passed. It can be a statement verbatim, direct quotes, right? So if what the repercussions that statement has caused in the committee, for the country, for the development of the agenda for that country, and for the other countries as well. And so you need to find that beat. Okay, and it is the beat based article is very specialized, it is very factual, it is very, very analytical, because if you are analyzing a beat, you need to be very well researched about the topic, about the agenda at hand. And yeah, it's about 350 words. um, yeah, beat is like the most trending thing in the MUN, not in the MUN, but in your committee. The most important thing being discussed in your committee. All right, I think I covered it. I had another question. How can you express your personal opinions without using I and without using personal pronouns, right? So you can express it in a third person, that you know um, on further considerations, it was noted that the delegate could have handled it differently, or um, it can create, so you can just state your opinion without using personal pronouns, right? If you're discussing about a particular agenda, that it can be like, it can create negative repercussions for the citizens of that country and all of that, because that is your point of view. You don't need to state that I believe it will cause problems for them. You can just state that it will cause problems for them, because it's your article, you're writing it, so it's kind of obvious that it's your opinion. Okay, anything else that I might have missed? Is a headline important in an article? If so, why? A headline is very important in an article. I think it is one of the most important things about an article, because okay, if you're reading a newspaper, uh, what attracts you to read an article? It's the headline, right? You have to you have to be attracted to a particular article to give it a read. And especially in a newsletter, when there are photographs and caricatures, information that people can absorb visually, it is very important for them to be attracted to your headline, for your article to get readership. Okay, it is important for your article to be read. It is important for a headline is important for your article to convey the crisp message of your article in about 3 4 words, 5 words, that attracts people to read the headline. Sorry, the article. The headline is supposed to attract people to read the article, to increase the readership of your article. It is very, very important. All right, I think I have answered all questions.
Yes. So um, this was really a beautiful session. Thank you, Lakshita. I hope
I
everyone learned something new, and I'm really sure. So it was an immense pleasure to have you back,
you.
especially. Thanks a lot.
Most
So
welcome. I had a lot of fun. It was good being back. Thank you to all who attended it and who said it was a great session. I was scrolling through, but I was too busy answering questions first. So yeah, thank you. It was my pleasure. And yeah,
so uh, now I'll be like taking some organizational questions. So if you want to leave the call, you can. Like,
all
it's
right.
not a
Thank you
problem.
so much. Bye bye.
So this was the 10th session of the main 10 sessions that we had. So now you have multiple questions. So what we are going to do is we are going to have two more sessions. One will be the session by the director of United Nations India himself. That session was originally going to be held on tomorrow, but its date has been shifted by 2 or 3 days. And by tonight or tomorrow, I'll be sharing the final date with you. There were some issues at a personal level due to which we had to, reorganize it. And also, there was this thing which we heard many times that there were multiple doubts. So, what we are going to do is tomorrow we are going to have a doubt clearing session. It will be held at 5 only, or if you guys want at some other time, you can suggest. But we are going to have a session at 5 tomorrow. That is optional. That has nothing to do with the certificate. And tomorrow, in that 1 hour, I'll try to, yeah, I'll try to, just summarize everything really quickly. And more focus will be on the doubts. Like many of you must have researched about the sessions after that also. I even did receive many mails. Yes, and issues. There are many general questions like how to participate in MUNs now. How do you switch to MUNs? So all of that will be discussed tomorrow. So do join in for that. And regarding the session which will be taken by Mr. Rajiv Chandran, who is the director of United Nations India, its details will be furnished to you, and attending that will be compulsory for everyone who has taken part in the program. Certificates will be given to you after Rajiv sir's session ends, post which will start. So it will take a bit of time because again we have to process certificates in a really large number. If you have missed like 2 3 sessions, then that won't affect your certification. It's obvious. We all can have some problems. And see, the main goal of this program was to learn and to teach. And I believe that at Triple IT Lucknow, we were able to do that. And trust me, tomorrow the doubt training session will be really awesome. I'll be trying to explain everything in real simple words, and I'll make sure that all your doubts get cleared. So I'll be sending the mail by tonight. And now, what is the surprise? The surprise was actually the session by Dr. Rajiv Chandran himself. It is for the first time ever that a United Nations official will be taking a training session for an MUN. Generally, what happens is if you go, they're just students of your age only. But for the first time, this was really tough because like They even liked the idea this much that after that they agreed to this. So tomorrow, yeah, Aarti, you want to take part in MNs, all these things, the things which one and two small topics which are not covered even, I'll be addressing them tomorrow. So hold on to them till tomorrow. Let's talk tomorrow. Let's clear all your doubts. So yeah, and tomorrow it's optional. It's not mandatory to join, but it will be mandatory to join the talk by Dr. Rajiv Chandran because here he will be telling you about why really MUNs matter, what are the relevance of MUNs, and like many of you had doubts, is there a transition from MUNs to UN? So that will be addressed, and trust me, it is something that you will be going to like it is something you will be loving. So that's it from our side today. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Yeah, we'll mail all the details. Yeah. Arthur? Yeah, all the material will be mailed after this ends because we were like, let's consolidate them and send them to you.